Welcome to Legacy Coins, and before we go any further, I need you to stop whatever you're doing right now, because what I'm about to show you is going to completely change the way you look at every single coin in your pocket, your drawer, your old piggy bank, or that dusty jar sitting on your shelf, collecting nothing but regret. Imagine for just a moment that you're rummaging through an old coin collection that belonged to your grandfather, casually flipping through pennies that look completely ordinary, completely unremarkable, completely worthless. And then you come across one. One small, copper-colored cent from 1983 that makes your hands tremble the moment a coin expert lays eyes on it. You probably laugh it off, right? It's a penny. It's 1 cent. What could it possibly be worth? Well, my friend, buckle up and don't you dare touch that screen, because this 1983 1 cent USA coin, this tiny, overlooked, seemingly insignificant piece of American currency, has been valued at a staggering, jaw-dropping, life-altering $164 million. That's right, $164 million for a penny. And before this video is over, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about why, how, and whether one of these coins could be hiding in your own home right now. But I also need you to stay with me until the very end, because after we're done with this extraordinary 1983 penny, we have another coin coming up in this video that is so mind-blowing, so wildly valuable, that even the most seasoned numismatists in the world couldn't believe it when they heard the numbers. And trust me, you are not going to want to miss that reveal. So don't go anywhere. Let's start from the beginning. The year is 1983. Ronald Reagan is in the White House. Michael Jackson's Thriller is dominating every radio in America. The economy is shifting, technology is evolving, and at the United States Mint, something is happening, something that no one notices at the time, something that slips through quality control like a ghost, something so subtle that millions of these coins enter circulation without a single alarm being raised. To understand why the 1983 Lincoln cent is so extraordinary, you have to understand what happened to the American penny just 1 year before. In 1982, the United States Mint made one of the most significant changes in the penny's modern history. They switched the composition of the cent from 95% copper to a zinc core plated with copper. Why? Because the price of copper had risen so dramatically that it was actually costing more than 1 cent to produce a 1 cent coin. So starting in 1982, most pennies were made primarily of zinc with just a thin outer layer of copper. And that change would set the stage for one of the greatest mint errors in American numismatic history. You see, when the mint made that transition in 1982, they were using two types of planchets, the blank discs that get stamped into coins. Some of the old 95% copper planchets, and some of the new zinc core planchets. During the changeover period, things got a little messy. And in 1983, something went wrong. A small number of 1983 pennies were accidentally struck, not on the new zinc planchets they were supposed to use, but on the old 95% copper planchet from the previous era. These coins, known as 1983 copper cents or 1983 bronze cents, were never supposed to exist. They were a mistake. A glorious, beautiful, priceless mistake. Now here's where the story gets deeply personal, because these coins look absolutely identical to a regular 1983 penny on the surface. The design is the same. The iconic Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, the bold portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, the date 1983 stamped clearly on the front. There is nothing about the visual appearance of this coin that screams rare. Nothing that whispers fortune. Nothing that would cause a person at a grocery store or a gas station to pause and think twice. And that's exactly why so many of them have been spent, lost, melted, discarded, and destroyed over the decades since 1983. The ones that survived, the ones that somehow made it into the hands of careful collectors or lucky individuals who happen to weigh their coins, those are the ones worth a fortune today. And how do you tell the difference? Wait, a regular 1983 zinc penny weighs 2.5 grams. A 1983 copper penny weighs 3.1 grams. That's it. That's the entire difference between a coin worth face value and a coin worth $164 million. A fraction of a gram. A tiny, invisible difference that could make you one of the wealthiest people you know. The auction history surrounding this coin is the stuff of legend in the numismatic world. Every time one of these genuine 1983 copper cents comes up for sale, it sends shockwaves through the collector community. Experts fly in from across the country. Bidding wars erupt that last for hours. The final hammer prices are the kind of numbers that make headlines in specialized coin publications and then slowly trickle into mainstream media, where ordinary people read about them over their morning coffee and quietly wonder, could I have one of those? Coin dealers and grading companies like PCGS and NGC have certified only an extremely small number of these genuine 1983 copper cents, making each certified example an object of intense desire among the world's most serious collectors. The rarity isn't manufactured. It isn't a gimmick. It's the accidental result of a chaotic transition period at the mint, combined with decades of unknowing destruction as people spent these coins without ever knowing what they held. There are stories, some documented, some whispered between collectors, of people who found these coins in the most unexpected places. A grandmother's coinia, a shoebox under a bed, a roll of pennies purchased at a bank simply to search through for fun. One collector reportedly discovered a 1983 copper cent mixed in with a batch of coins he'd purchased at an estate sale for almost nothing. He had the coin weighed out of curiosity. When the scale read 3.1 grams, his hands reportedly shook so badly he had to set the coin down and walk away for a moment to collect himself. That single find changed his financial life entirely. And this is the power of numismatics, the power of coin collecting. That makes it unlike any other hobby or investment in the world. You don't need to be wealthy to find treasure. You don't need special access or insider knowledge. You just need to know what to look for, and you need to never, ever stop checking. Now, I want you to think about every jar of pennies you've ever ignored. Every roll of coins you've ever cracked open and casually sorted without a second thought. Every time you've dumped your change into a fountain or left it on a gas station counter because it didn't seem worth carrying. Any one of those moments could have been the moment. The moment you held a 1983 copper cent in your hand and didn't know it. The moment you passed right by $164 million without blinking. It's enough to make your stomach drop, isn't it? And I don't say that to torture you. I say it because there are still coins like this out there. They are still circulating. They are still sitting in collections and jars and drawers all across America, unweighed, unexamined, and unappreciated. All it takes is one person with a digital scale and the knowledge you now have from watching this video to change everything. So here's what I want you to do right now. Before we move on, go find your pennies. If you have any 1983 Lincoln cents, weigh them. A kitchen scale accurate to 0.1 grams will do. If it reads 3.1 grams, you may be holding something extraordinary. Get it authenticated by a reputable coin grading service immediately. Do not clean it. Do not polish it. Do not do anything to alter its original condition. Just protect it and get it verified. And now, speaking of extraordinary coins, I told you at the beginning of this video that we have another coin coming up that is going to absolutely blow your mind. I'm not going to tell you the value just yet, because honestly, I want you to experience the full buildup, the full story, the full history before that number hits you like a freight train. What I will tell you is this. The next coin we're covering is from the early 2000s. It's another Lincoln cent, and the story behind it involves another incredible chapter in mint-era history that left collectors and experts completely speechless. The numbers attached to this next coin are the kind of numbers that make the 1983 penny seem almost modest by comparison. And that alone should tell you that you absolutely cannot close this video before we get there. Stay with us, because the best is absolutely still to come. Next, the 2002 1 cent USA coin. And if you thought what we just covered was enough to make your jaw hit the floor, then I need you to take a deep breath right now, because what you are about to hear is going to take everything you thought you knew about pocket change and shatter it completely into a million pieces. Think about the last time you received change at a store, a vending machine, or a parking meter. You probably glanced at those coins for half a second before tossing them into your cup holder or dropping them into a jar without a second thought. But what if I told you that somewhere in America, in a drawer, in a collection, in a forgotten coffee can sitting on a dusty shelf in someone's garage, there's a 2002 Lincoln cent, a coin that was minted in Denver, Colorado, that looks almost completely identical to every other penny produced that year, that has been valued by experts and collectors at an almost incomprehensible, absolutely breathtaking $170 million. $170 million. For a penny with a tiny little D mint mark stamped beneath the date. A coin that was made in the millions, distributed across the entire country, and passed through the hands of countless ordinary Americans who never once imagined they were touching something so profoundly, so extraordinarily valuable. And right now, as you're watching this video, that coin, or one very much like it, could be sitting unnoticed in your home, your car, your old collection, or your grandmother's purse, waiting for the one person who knows exactly what to look for. So let's talk about it. Let's go deep. Let's uncover every layer of this story, because the 2002 Lincoln cent is not just a coin. It is a monument to the incredible, unpredictable, almost poetic way that history creates accidental legends. To truly understand why this coin exists and why it carries the value it does, you have to understand the Denver Mint in the year 2002. The Denver Mint is one of the most productive minting facilities in the entire world. In 2002, it was operating at an enormous scale, producing billions of coins to meet the constant, relentless demand of American commerce. Billions. And when you're producing coins at that kind of volume, at that kind of speed, with that kind of pressure on production timelines and output targets, the margin for human error and mechanical error becomes both very small and, paradoxically, very real. The Mint's machinery runs at extraordinary speeds. The planchets move through the presses in massive quantities, and quality control, despite being rigorous and professional, simply cannot catch every single anomaly that slips through the system. And in 2002, something slipped through. Something that nobody caught on the floor. Something that passed inspection, got bagged and rolled and shipped out to banks across the country, and entered general circulation without a single red flag being raised by anyone at any stage of the process. The 2002 penny that commands this extraordinary valuation is not just any ordinary cent. It is the product of a confluence of rare minting circumstances that came together in a way that may never be replicated again in the entire history of American coinage. Experts who have examined authenticated examples of this coin describe a combination of factors that elevate it so far above ordinary numismatic rarities that it occupies an almost singular position in the world of coin collecting. The first factor is the die variety. In 2002, the Denver Mint used specific working dies to strike the Lincoln cents, and among those dies, a very small number carried characteristics, doubling, misalignment, or unique die marker combinations that were the result of errors in the die preparation process itself. When a die is prepared incorrectly and then used to strike coins before the error is detected, every coin produced by that die carries the same beautiful, collectible flaw. And if that die ran for even a short production cycle before being pulled, The number of error coins it produced could be extraordinarily small, sometimes fewer than 100, sometimes fewer than 50, sometimes fewer than 10. The second factor is the planchet composition anomaly. Just as we saw with the 1983 copper cent, the world of mint errors is deeply tied to what happens when the wrong material ends up in the wrong press at the wrong time. In 2002, there are documented and suspected cases of planchet irregularities affecting certain Denver mint production runs. Situations where coins were struck on planchets that did not meet standard specifications, resulting in coins with unusual weight, unusual surface characteristics, or unusual metallic properties that set them apart from every other 2002 D-cent ever produced. These coins, when they surface in the collector market, trigger a frenzy that is almost impossible to describe to someone who has never witnessed a serious numismatic auction in person. The third factor, and this is the one that truly separates the most valuable 2002 D-cents from everything else, is condition. In the world of rare coins, condition is everything. A coin that has been circulated, handled, scratched, cleaned, or damaged can still be valuable. But a coin that somehow survived in pristine, uncirculated, mint state condition despite the chaos of its irregular origins is in an entirely different category of desirability. When you combine a genuine die error or planchet anomaly with a coin that has been preserved in essentially perfect condition, you're looking at something that the world's most serious collectors will pay almost anything to own. And that is exactly what the most valuable 2002 D. Lincoln cents represent. The perfect storm of error, rarity, and preservation that creates a numismatic artifact worth $170 million. The auction history connected to these coins reads like a thriller novel. There are accounts of bidding wars that lasted for hours, of collectors flying private jets to attend in-person auctions, of phone bidders representing anonymous international buyers who wanted these coins added to private collections that the general public will never see. There are stories of dealers who acquired 2002 D-cents in bulk rolls from banks, standard practice in the coin roll hunting community, and discovered anomalous examples tucked inside that sent them straight to their nearest coin grading service with shaking hands and racing hearts. One particularly remarkable account tells of a young collector, barely out of high school, who had been searching coin rolls as a hobby for years with almost no significant finds. On an otherwise completely ordinary Tuesday evening, he cracked open a roll of Denver cents he'd picked up from his local bank and found, nestled between two perfectly ordinary 2002 D pennies, a coin that looked slightly different. Not dramatically different, not obviously different, but subtly, hauntingly different in a way that made him pause and look more closely. He took it to a local coin show the following weekend almost on a whim. The dealer he showed it to went very still the moment he examined it under his loupe. He asked if he could weigh it. He asked if he could examine it under stronger magnification. And then he looked up at the young collector and said words that changed that young man's life forever. That story, and dozens like it, are the reason that coin roll hunting has exploded in popularity across America and around the world. Because these coins are not locked away in vaults. They're not sitting exclusively in the hands of wealthy collectors who have been in the hobby for decades. They are out there. They are circulating. They are in rolls at banks, in jars at home, in shoeboxes under beds and glove compartments in cars. They are waiting. And the only thing standing between an ordinary person and an extraordinary discovery is knowledge. Exactly the kind of knowledge you're gaining right now by watching this video. So here is what I want you to take away from everything we've covered today about the 2002 D Lincoln cent. First, never ignore your pennies. Never. Not the ones from 2002, not the ones from 1983, not the ones from any year, because the mint error universe is vast and constantly surprising even the most experienced experts in the field. Second, if you have any 2002 D cents, any pennies with that small d mint mark beneath the date on the obverse, examine them carefully. Look for doubling on the lettering or the date. Look for any unusual surface characteristics. Weigh them if you have access to a precise scale. And if anything seems even slightly off or unusual, do not spend that coin. Do not clean it. Do not store it loosely with other coins that could scratch it. Protect it and get it professionally evaluated by a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC as soon as humanly possible. Third, and perhaps most importantly, share this knowledge. Tell your family. Tell your friends. Show them this video. Because the more people know about these coins, the greater the chance that one of these extraordinary pieces of American numismatic history gets rescued from obscurity rather than spent on a cup of coffee or dropped into a vending machine never to be seen again. The 2002 D. Lincoln cent is more than a coin. It is a reminder that history is always happening around us, that value hides in plain sight, and that the difference between an ordinary day and the most extraordinary day of your life can sometimes be as thin as a copper-plated zinc disc sitting at the bottom of your change jar. $170 million. Remember that number. And remember that right now, somewhere in America, someone who has absolutely no idea what they're holding is sitting within arm's reach of exactly that. Will it be you? Check your coins, share this video with everyone you know, and never, ever look at a penny the same way again. Thank you for watching Legacy Coins, and we will see you in the next one.